judgments and all, most of the time the judgments are landmark judgments. But sometimes it happens that the judgments are really good, but those are not landmark judgments. But in this case, the justice is prima facie done. There is no doubt about that. But that could have been a landmark judgment. But then what was the reason behind not being the landmark judgment? It is because there is a strong requirement in the judiciary or in the public institutes to make them learn about the concept of intellectual property rights. Since yesterday we are all talking about the technology. It was awesome to be here, and I thank the IIT Bombay to give me the awesome opportunity. But at the same time, what I was always thinking as a law student, suppose if the litigations are going to the court of law, and if there is nothing called amicus curiae in the system, then what will happen to the decision-making process? Let's begin with this. So as I said, the judiciary is an important pillar with the executive and legislature. So executives are the one who implement the laws, whereas legislators are to make the laws. As we discussed last day, we are actually heading, or rather we are in the front of the fourth industrial revolution. It is completely based on the artificial intelligence and everything. And there is a big challenge over the public institutions. And coming back to subject, integrational approach is what is given, but in the website it was intergenerational approach given. So I didn't mind changing it because it is somehow coming as an intergenerational approach, and with this we are facing this topic. Now generally what happens is that when the judgment is coming, according to us, judgment should come with some landmark observation, because that particular judgment stands as a fantastic focus for the next judgment. But then sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So in our case, one fine day, a Mumbai person called Vivek Anasne registered a mark called Glenfield, and this application was opposed by William Grant and Sons Limited because their mark was Glenfiddich. Now what is Glenfield and what is Glenfiddich? Both are Scotch whiskies. And just before my presentation, there was a very nice presentation about the GI. The whiskey which is produced in Scotland is called a Scotch whiskey. There is no other whiskey anywhere in the world is called a Scotch whiskey. For example, India also produces 3 world-class whiskies, but those are not Scotch whiskies. Those are only whiskies. A very recent GI in India was the Irish whiskey, but that is not again a Scotch whiskey. Although Ireland is the neighbor of Britain, then too, that's called Irish whiskey and not the Scotch whiskey. Here the matter was between 2 whiskey brands. Okay, so first was the Glenfield and second was the Glenfiddich. So the Glenfiddich opposed its trademark under these sections 52, 52B, 53, 54A under the UK Trademark Act. Now just have a look at this. Okay, now we have Glenfield and we have Glenfiddich. There is a similarity between 2 Glens. Then we have F, we have D, and then there are 2 stags. There are 2 stags over Glenfield holding a shield where we have G and F. On the other hand, there is only one stag on the Glenfiddich, over the Glenfiddich trademark. Just have a look at this, then you will find the green color. So prima facie there is a sufficient place to say yes, there might be some infringement. Glenfield could have gone with a much better and creative way. Now the registration, what was the idea of Glenfiddich? Glenfiddich opposed the Glenfield mark on the following grounds. First, it was visually and phonetically highly similar to Glenfiddich. Then there was existence of Glen and FD, and apart from that, both applicants were serving the identical goods. And then Glenfiddich went on saying that their mark is since 1960. They are having a sort of 30% share in the global whiskey market. And then the Glenfield, they also said that their character is a very much distinct character. Glenfield is very, very poor in presentation also, and because of that it said that it can disfigure the reputation of Glenfiddich. That was the logic of Glenfiddich behind opposing this. Then they also said that they have gathered substantial goodwill in the United Kingdom, but since the presentation is poor, since the people may be deceived, the consumer may be deceived in both, and if they consume Glenfield, then it may happen that it may create some problem for the reputation of the Glenfiddich mark. That was the problem, and it is also heading for the argument of trademark disparagement. Means almost under the same category, or if you are coming with a different product, and the second product with a similar kind of name is actually creating trouble for the earlier product. So that can be called as a trademark disparagement. But then this claim was denied by Vivekananda. He said that his trademark was established in 2017. He had a sufficiently gathered goodwill across India, and then he also opposed on the command over the word Glen. Because we all know Glenn McGrath, we all know there are many other people who are coming with Glen. But the meaning of Glen is a narrow valley, especially in mountain, especially in the Scotland area, when we have very narrow steep valleys, that valley is called Glen. So he said Glen cannot be commanded. The next problem might be about the F&D. Final arguments of Glenfiddich were that it was single malt Scotch whisky since 1960. They also have green and golden color. They also have wide network, and because of that, they have a better say in this entire case. And apart from that, they also said that was right, that they have spent millions of euros for the promotional purpose. Apart from that, their share is very large, and in 2010, it was the topmost Scotch whisky brand across the globe. And now we will see what is 5 into 2. A trademark shall not be registered if it is similar to an earlier trademark, and it is identical to be registered for the goods and services identical to those for which the earlier trademark is protected. There exists a likelihood of confusion on the part of the public, which includes likelihood of association with the earlier trademark. In this matter, the goods were identical. In the sense, in our simplest words, suppose if I am a consumer, and suppose if I am going and demanding the Glenfiddich, and suppose if I get Glenfield, I may come into consideration that Glenfield might be a sister concern for the Glenfiddich, and these are two identical products. So, and the labels are also looking same. There is a Glen, there is a F and D between. So this might be from the similar company. Glenfiddich is excellent. Glenfield must be excellent. Then let's have a Glenfield. That was the logic of Glenfiddich for as far as the consumer behavior was concerned. Now again, I'm bringing these trademarks before you. Okay, the blue color exists. Okay, one color is darker, one color is. But then what happens is that there was a high possibility of consumer confusion. Now what court started saying? Court said that there is no comparison between two marks. Because it looks prima facie same, but there are two stacks, there is one stack, there is green, but then Glenfiddich is relatively a bigger name. Glenfield is a small compact name, even the font is a bit different. And then you also have the whiskey, the product of Scotland written over here, in cursive format, okay, italic. And that is the reason why court said that, there is no relative similarity also between two products. Apart from that, the golden words such as the words blended Scotch whisky, okay, and the word of Scotland, there is a shield which is absent in the Glenfiddich, and there are two stacks. The Glenfiddich has only one stack, even the shield is divided into 4. And then you will find that G and F is written. So these are all the prima facie observations court conducted. And finally the concept of goodwill. And the concept of goodwill is also written, but the court came out with a concept that there is no clear evidence that Glenfield mark can be very, you can say detrimental, precarious for the Glenfiddich. So if Glenfield starts business, the Glenfiddich won't be affected. That was the logic of the court. What is my suggestion on this? What is my finding on this? Because what is missing in the judgment? Why did I really take this topic? Firstly, all of you must have understood what is it all about. I hope you understood the case. Then what is missing in the judgment? What is missing in the judgment is, it is based on a very, very normative observation, and there is no empirical observation based on this. Because what happens is that the court has so far completely missed on to the part of the consumer behavior. There is no consumer behavior taken into consideration. Let's go for the marks again. See, now there is Glenfiddich, now there is Glenfield. As I said, tag, one stack, two stack, shield, no shield. And then the court is missing a very, very important concept. That is the single malt whisky of Glenfiddich and the blended Scotch whisky of Glenfield. Now for those who are the drinkers, for them, single malt whisky and the blended whisky matters a lot, because there are loyal consumers of the product. And when the product is saying that it is a blended whiskey, you can't say that a person who is very, very particular about a blended whiskey, you cannot say he will be deceived because of the Glenfiddich. I'll just go ahead. Why? Because single malt whiskey is very rigorous. It's a product of individual distillery. It is considered as the original whiskey of the Scotland. It is coming from the malted barley. The process is very elegant and rigorous, as I said. And then it means the distillation of a whiskey is from a malted barley. Till the germination process, grains are soaked in water for several days, and this process is called a malting process. Then peat coal. Remember peat coal. There is nothing called the anthracite, lignite, bituminous. It's peat coal which is used because the peat coal is not that highly generating in terms of energy. It is used for heating process. It is to be noted that only barley can be used for single malt scotch, and then dry malt is again ground into flour and mixed with hot water. Starches are converted into sugar in this process. Then there is a fermentation by adding yeast, and finally the distillation removes the impurity such as methanol, and this increases the alcohol content. Now this is a traditional knowledge. This is a traditional knowledge in the Scotland. It is coming from at least last 300 years. And now this whiskey also, I mean the Scotch whiskey also received GI in India. So I cannot keep making Scotch whiskey and selling it as Scotch whiskey. So they only whiskey. And that also depends on whatever standards I am going through. Okay, so this is the content, this is the context in which the whiskey is produced. These are the brands. Now see, only one particular whiskey has got the green color mark. Then you will find 15, 18 and 21 written. See, this is based on how many years the whiskey is old. Now if you are going for the 12 years old whiskey, it may come down to 3,500. But then I have observed one whiskey which is 41 years old whiskey, and the price was 2,78,451 rupees. That was the whiskey. It was 41 years old whiskey. And I mean, even if a consumer is very, very particular about his own product, what he wants to consume, he will go and straight away demand Glenfiddich. And the person who is really very keen, I mean the person who is a bartender, he is also learned in many products. He will not give Glenfiddich to you, because Glenfiddich to Glenfiddich is like single malt whiskey to the blended whiskey. Because if you see, the blended whiskey is having different amalgamation of single malt whiskey. And if blended whiskey is prepared today and it is consumed 1 month down the line, doesn't make any difference. I mean, I can't say the blended whiskey is bad and single malt is good. Basically, I don't consume, so I'm no one to say that. But the point is that I cannot put into question the behavior of the consumers, because I've done sufficient amount of survey on this, and then I ask, if you want Glenfiddich, if you want single malt, will you go for blended? Never. That is what they said. Because how I came to the conclusion, I'll tell you. I'm a loyal iOS user. I will never be comfortable with Windows. I mean, sorry to Windows, but I will never be comfortable with Windows. I'm a Royal Enfield loyal consumer. If someone comes to me and gives me, this is Bullet, then at the most Bullet, with Bullet I will be having some kind of loyalty. But suppose someone is given, yeah, you want just one cruise bike, because Thunderbird is my cruise bike. Okay, if someone gives me, I give you Bajaj Avenger. However good Bajaj Avenger is, I will not go for Bajaj Avenger. Because when I want cruise bike, I want Royal Enfield Thunderbird. I will not go for any other product. At the same time, again I'm saying, iOS I will go, because suppose if I have a phone, I don't have phone if I have Apple. I have Apple. I don't have just phone. Because phone can be from Nokia, phone can be from anyone. Okay. And this is the reason why when I go for a single malt, there is an aversion to the blended according to many. So here, as I said, there are many people who are loyal to the products, and because of that, the statement when comes the goods by both marks are identical. The last statement, if you see, the goods by both marks are identical, and this statement is indigestible for me, because let Glenfiddich may argue anything. But when the court says both marks are basically identical, then it hurts the consumer feeling also. So, loyal consumer, as I said, he knows everything. And there is also a concept of different paradox in economics. When price is too low, people will take the doubt about quality. If price is high, people will say quality must be good. And that is the concept. And here, what lacked in this entire judgment was the absence of amicus curiae. Amicus curiae is the one who can inform the judges, who can enlighten the judges about the technology or the field on which they have to deliver the statement. But that amicus curiae was there in Novartis. When Novartis case was a very famous case, when a particular medicine came out with its own different avatar, okay, having the alkalis of that, alkalis were into alpha and beta, the beta alkalis were produced as the new medicine called Glivec, and Glivec, having patent in 40 countries, was rejected in India. Because what was the difference between the earlier imatinib and the Glivec was the obviousness which the court found. And India stood the first country to not to give patent to the Novartis. If this is so, then in IP context, when we are going for a litigation, although all the matters are solved before above the court, or rather out of the court, but still when the judges are delivering any judgment, why the amicus curiae doesn't become compulsory in some cases, that is my concern, and that is the reason why I wanted to raise this doubt, because many of us from the legal field, many of us from the IT field, we may have some kind of problems, and sorry to say that, but the judges who are 50, 55, 60 years old, they have, I mean, some of them have gone to arts faculty because they did not like science and mathematics in 10th standard, so they have gone to arts faculty. And now if such judges are dealing with science and technology, I'm not saying all judges, but some judges among them are dealing with some kind of some kind of fields like this, then it may create a trouble for the ultimate holder of that intellectual property. That was the whole logic I have, and here I end my presentation. Thank you so much.
So we may be talking with